WNST, Towson. When the Ravens head on to take on the Patriots, I got Caps duties this week as well as the Terps and Army Navy here in Baltimore later on in the week. But we're going to head back up the road to Foxborough, Massachusetts. This guy works for Patriots.com as well as the editor there and Patriots Football Weekly. You can follow his journey, and tens of thousands do out on Twitter at PFW Paul. We welcome Paul Perillo back onto the program here at WNST. An extra day of preparation for both of these teams. It's going to be a hell of a football game on Monday night, Paul.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, especially coming off of that whatever we watched on Sunday with the Patriots and Rams. Wasn't the most intense game, but yeah, Baltimore played, I would assume, their best game of the season against the red-hot Miami team, and the Patriots obviously are still learning about life without Rob Gronkowski. Really looking forward to this one.
Well, we're looking forward to life without Rob Gronkowski, too. I mean, something we fantasized about it, when the schedule came out 6 months ago. Wouldn't it be nice if Gronkowski and Collins weren't there? The bad news, however, is Tom Brady is there. And look, you've been at this a long time. You've been watching it. I was kind of taken aback. I mean, I think of the Patriots as where they're going to win every week, and we saw them stumble against the Seahawks and what happened the first month of the year. And we'll go through all the Dean Pease and taking the air out of the tires and all the other nonsense. But Tom Brady, 19 touchdowns, 1 interception. I don't know how he could be any better than he's been. And more than that, healthy and rested at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely playing at a very high level. He really shot out of the gates. When he came back, Nestor, it was just unreal how smooth he was and how efficient. Those first 3, 4, 5 games, I mean, he was just lighting it up. Now, the last couple of games been a little bit slower. I think the pressure has been a little bit sporadic on him. The offensive line is not great, and I think when the Patriots' offense slows down, it's generally because of some quick throwaways that he's forced to have, sort of puts him behind the chains. But overall, for a guy, at his age that missed the entire first month of the season to have 19 touchdowns and 1 interception, obviously setting the all-time record with his 201st victory over Los Angeles, just really a remarkable story.
Well, and at 201 victories, I've done the math on that. That's, 20 straight years of 10 wins. Wow, right? I mean, and he's not even in 20 years. I mean, it's better than that. But that's what it would take. You want to go catch Tom Brady, 20 years as a quarterback in the league where you win 10 games every year. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, the thing that really sticks out to me is that there doesn't really appear to be any end in sight. You don't really see a lot of signs of wear and tear. Now, he is dealing with a knee problem. It looked a little bit better to me against the Rams than it did against the Jets, so maybe that's on the way back too. But really, if you watch him play week to week, you don't really see any differences in arm strength. You don't see really. I would argue that he's more mobile than he's ever been the last couple of weeks. If you go back to the San Francisco game 3 weeks ago, it was remarkable some of the escapes that he had in the pocket. As I said, the offensive line has not been great. The running game is a little bit sporadic. He really does almost everything for this offense, and now he's doing it without his best weapon in Gronkowski. The thing that really stands out to me most is that this doesn't appear to be any end in sight. Usually at this time, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, you sort of could see, that light at the end of the tunnel. It was going to end soon. You don't really see that with Tom.
Well, we hope to hurt his feelings on Monday night, if nothing else, and certainly no Gronkowski running around out there changes everything. I think it's a completely different prep in Owings Mills this week with no Rob Gronkowski. And if they're going back and looking at the film from game week 6 and week 8 and week 10 when he's running around, to not have to deal with that, even in the same play calling, and I know you'll praise Martellus Bennett in a minute, everybody has, but there's only one Rob Gronkowski, and there's no answer for him that we know of other than him getting hurt and not being on the field, quite frankly.
Right. It has to change, and I think what they're going to do, because you mentioned it, even if they have Martellus Bennett playing at a high level, and frankly, he really has not the last couple of weeks, he's pretty banged up, too. He's got an ankle problem and a shoulder injury. What they're going to have to do, I think, is really rely on that backfield. LeGarrette Blount is having a pretty solid year as the main ball carrier, but they have James White and Deion Lewis, 2 really versatile guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Belichick and Josh McDaniels have started to use them a little bit together in the same backfield. I think that presents some matchup problems, I think, for linebackers. You have to decide how you want to treat them. They're both pretty gifted receivers. Lewis is the better runner from the backfield than White. But I think those 3 guys, if you can get somewhere between 150 and 200 yards from scrimmage out of those 3, and they've done that the last 2 weeks, both of them, I should say all 3 of them combined, I think you can sort of make up a little bit. It's not going to be the same dynamic offense. I mean, this is an offense that has been used to sort of rolling out of bed and scoring 30-plus points. Well, I think those days are over, and I would certainly be shocked if they're able to do that kind of stuff against Baltimore the way the Ravens have played defense this season. So Monday night, I think you might see a little bit more of a slugfest than the Patriots are really used to, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how McDaniels continues to try to adjust to life without Gronk because, as you said, there just is no substitute.
Yeah, Amendola hasn't been the factor that he's been in previous years, but still a pretty good football player. He also running around in a foot boot here this week. He won't be a part of this. Tell me about Hogan. Tell me about White. Tell me about where Edelman is at this point because it feels like Edelman is the preferred receiver right now.
Yeah, Edelman, no doubt, is the guy that he leans on the most, and he's a slot guy. He's going to be quick and shifty, and he's going to make some plays. He had a pretty significant foot problem last year that cost him half the season. He had some surgery on that in the off season. He's had some periodic problems with a screw in the foot that's bothered him a little bit. He just doesn't appear to be quite as dynamic. Now, he still catches a lot of passes. He had 8 for 101 against the Rams, so it's not like this guy can no longer play. He's still a pretty effective player, but what the Patriots are used to with him is a lot of yards after the catch, a lot of plays that he makes on his own. We haven't seen as many of those as we had been used to in the last couple of seasons. Chris Hogan's a guy that's sort of intriguing, and the other guy that I wouldn't sleep on is Malcolm Mitchell, a rookie receiver out of Georgia. 4th-round pick has really come on the last 3 weeks consecutively. He has established a career high for receptions in this past game against the Rams. He had 8 catches as well. So those two guys have been the main guys, and Chris Hogan is a guy that seems to be from week to week, depending on how the game plan goes. He had a big touchdown catch against Los Angeles, but otherwise was pretty quiet. Against the Jets, he really did nothing, but at the end of the game, Brady went to him on the game-winning drive, had a big 25-yard reception on that. So he's a guy that, when called upon, has been able to make some plays. I think they're looking for a little bit more consistency out of him, but overall, just because Gronkowski's not there, and you mentioned Amendola will likely be out of this game as well, it doesn't mean that there are no weapons because, as I said, the backs can play, and they do have some young receivers who are starting to make some plays.
So much was made about the beginning of the year, and obviously Brady not being in there, and Garoppolo, and winning those first 3 games, and even losing the game to the Bills 16-0. I guess through all of these years, you wonder how they do it without Brady, and then how they do it with replacing all the parts around this thing. This isn't the strongest Patriot version, but I think there's something about just the sticker on the helmet and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and many teams just walking into Gillette Stadium with a puddle between their legs. That's not the case for the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens have historically come there with a lot of bravado, and certainly as much as Joe Flacco gets beaten up, Joe Flacco has never flinched in Foxborough.
I think that you hit the nail on the head, and that's why I think there's a lot of Patriots fans that have had this game circled, and they're a little concerned about it because they do beat a lot of teams just by showing up at Gillette Stadium, and they've never beaten the Ravens that way ever. The Ravens are not afraid to play the Patriots no matter where you play, and they play a physical style that is, sort of been indicative of the way that franchise goes about its business that I think the Patriots, deep down, really respect. They may not like each other. I know that Belichick and Harbaugh have been friendly. And then they had the situation with some of the stuff that went on with the playoff game 2 years ago. But I think there's a lot of respect there, and I know the fans hate the Ravens, and that to me, for the Patriots, if the Patriots fans hate you, that means they're afraid of you a little bit. And I think there's some fear going in for exactly the reason you mentioned. Joe Flacco can be sort of inconsistent during the regular season, but in any individual game, and we certainly saw it against Miami, he can absolutely light you up, and he has done it to the Patriots in Foxborough more than once. Probably should have had 2 AFC title wins in Foxborough, and there's not too many teams that can come into Foxborough and have a chance to win, let alone win. He did it when the money was on the table, and he really did it twice. If Lee Evans doesn't drop that pass in whatever it was, 2011 AFC Championship game, the Ravens, by all rights, probably should have won both of those games.
In the last couple of weeks, I don't want to say they've been bye weeks for the Patriots, but certainly the 49ers, the Jets, and the Rams in great competition with the Browns, who are also on the Patriots schedule. As far as some of the little sisters of the poor that the Patriots have taken behind the woodshed here recently, this won't be the case this week. And one thing about the Ravens is they bring the run stop and they bring the defense, and the whole notion that Belichick's going to put together some sort of ground attack that's going to get after the Ravens seems to be a little foolish. It feels to me like this is going to be another one of those short passing games where Brady's just going to be getting rid of the ball, and they're going to use the passing game as the running game.
Yeah, I would be stunned if LeGarrette Blount was a huge part of this game, a huge factor in this game. They'll probably try to run him a little bit just to keep the Ravens honest, but I just can't imagine that Baltimore has to go to too much trouble to stop this running game. It's not a very good running game. What generally happens every game is Blount will find a way to shake free and pick up 25 yards. This past game against Los Angeles, it was a 43-yard touchdown. Otherwise, he had 17 carries for 45 yards if you took the one touchdown out. Now, I understand you can't just eliminate the one big play because he does tend to make it more often than not, but he is not, I don't think, going to be much trouble for the Ravens to deal with, and it probably will be a lot of short passes. I don't think they have a tremendous deep game. Brady will probably take a shot or two, and that'll be Chris Hogan, that'll be Malcolm Mitchell, probably more likely to be Hogan, but if the Ravens can tackle, if the Ravens secondary can keep things in front of them and then make sure you're making the tackles short of the sticks. Lewis is a very shifty guy. White is a very shifty guy. They throw a lot of third down passes short of the first down markers, and they rely on their receivers to make plays. So if Baltimore tackles well, I think it could be a long day for the offense. The offense, despite getting 26 points and 400 yards of offense, was not very good against Los Angeles. They really only got into the red zone twice. They were able to score one touchdown when they got there. So this, like I said, is not the old Patriots offense that you saw in October. It's been much, much different the last month, and that was against bad teams, and I consider Baltimore's defense as good as any.
Don't get us overconfident, Paul Perillo. PFW Paul is the way to find him out on Twitter. He is the Patriots Football Weekly host as well as the editor of Patriots.com. Not many teams, and just as an example, I can't fathom that the Ravens would have said, well, C.J. Mosley, we're not going to re-sign him. Let's just deal him off in Week 8. Jamie Collins, I remember the game 2 years ago. He was the best player on the field for the Patriots and at various points has been the best player of their defense. I can't think of anything more stunning, and when a guy like Belichick does this, you look at it and say, well, there must be a reason because he's the smartest guy in the room, but it certainly doesn't equate to them being a better football team now, nor will it equate to being a better football team in January when Jamie Collins is, off counting his money and fly fishing or whatever he's going to be doing in January because he's not going to be playing football in Cleveland. That was a strange transaction in the middle of the trade campaign.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it was stunning. Belichick does a lot of things that sort of catch you off guard, and when you do it that way often enough, it tends to not surprise you anymore. But this one really stunned everybody, and I think you're right, because I think we all saw what Jamie Collins can do, and we know that he hasn't been great this season, but you go back to Week 3, the Thursday night against Houston, Thursday night game here with a rookie third-string quarterback and Jacoby Brissett starting. They needed the defense to step up, and Jamie Collins had an absolutely absurd game. He was the best player on the field by far, and that was this season. So for something to happen, a month later that caused Belichick to cut ties with him, yeah, I'm going to assume that something happened that we don't know about. We may never know about. But there's no way that Jamie Collins forgot how to play football, and that's why they let him go. It made no sense to let him go before his contract expired because even if you don't get anything for him, you only got a conditional, compensatory pick anyway. So you were going to get a third-round pick either way. This trade, in football terms, made absolutely no sense. So I'm going to assume that Belichick knows something that we don't know, and Jamie Collins either wasn't getting with the program or had something, that he was dealing with off the field that we don't know about. Because you're right, the Patriots' defense is not better without Jamie Collins. In fact, it was already weak with Jamie Collins. So that's a big problem.
One thing I know for sure is Belichick's been to Cleveland. I mean, you can send him to hell, Siberia, or Cleveland. Cleveland was available. I mean, of all the places you could send a guy, that's cruel and unusual punishment, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think it was an accident, and I know a lot of people around here sort of try to say, well, they were the only ones that gave you the third-round pick. I think if you shopped Jamie Collins around, you could have gotten more than that. I don't think they were interested in helping out any of the supposed playoff teams, potential opponents in the playoffs.
They wanted to send him somewhere where they knew he wouldn't be playing in January.
Yeah, they weren't going to send him to Denver or Baltimore or Pittsburgh or someone that could have used him. They sent him to Cleveland where they knew he wouldn't hurt him at least this season.
He is Paul Perillo. He is with Patriots.com as well as the Patriots Football Weekly. All right, how many years now for you on the Patriots beat running around there?
This is my 18th season. I was there for the last year of Pete Carroll here in 1999.
Well, lucky you, and you've in the right place at the right time. Tell us what you like and don't like about Bill Belichick, and tell us what we would be surprised to know about him over 18 years. I know one thing. I've only sat in a few of the press conferences at the Super Bowls. Those weren't going to win any awards. There's no doubt about that, right?
No, and you know what? That's one of the most asked questions that I get when people, what is it like to cover him? And he is difficult to deal with in terms of the media, but I find him very easy to cover because he's ridiculously consistent. I don't care what the topic is. I don't care what you're asking about. You can ask about Jamie Collins. You can ask why he didn't use a timeout. You can ask, why Jabal Shear didn't play one game and played 100% of the snaps the next. It's always going to be, we did what we thought was what best interest of the football team. That's his pat answer for everything. He's very consistent. He sticks to the script, and that's why distractions no longer bother him. And I think it's a lesson that he learned very early in his coaching career when he was with Cleveland. And when they moved to Baltimore, and he was sort of blindsided by that. He felt like the distraction of that move really derailed his whole approach there. It cost him his job, and I think he vowed to never let a distraction outside of his team impact him like that ever again. And you can criticize him. I often do, believe it or not. Even though I work for the team, I'm very critical of the way sometimes I don't feel like he has to be as short and curt with us as he is, but he's extremely consistent, and I find that very easy to cover.
Paul Perillo covering all things New England Patriots. You giving the Ravens a chance to come up there and steal this one on Monday night? I mean, I'm certainly not getting on the plane coming up to Providence on Monday thinking they're going to lose. Matter of fact, the 38-6 effort, the way the offenses come together, and the thing that I don't like about the Patriots right now is the no Collins, is no Amendola, certainly no Gronkowski. The Ravens played like that in October, and they didn't win in October without Suggs, without Yonda, without Steve Smith, without C.J. Mosley, without Elvis Dumerville, Jimmy Smith. Well, you can't play without your best players, and I know one thing, the difference maker this would have been a whole different week in Owings Mills and a whole different night on Monday night in Foxborough if Gronkowski were in there.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said to me makes a lot of sense, and I would actually turn it to you, and I'm wondering about the Ravens' offense, and I've been sort of watching the Ravens a little bit during the course of the season, obviously not as intently as you have. But what we saw against Miami, now Miami was as hot as anybody, winning 6 in a row, and they dismantled them. They had about 500 yards of offense, and Flacco was, 4 touchdowns and about 400 yards passing. If that's the kind of offense that the Ravens are capable of, then I absolutely give them all the chances in the world. If they can come in here and say put 24 points on the board, they can win the football game. But you have to be able to throw the football and be willing to go after points. And that's what I've always been impressed by John Harbaugh and Flacco, is they've come to Foxborough looking to win, not just to be competitive. They're going to go for it on fourth down. They're going to take some chances. They're going to drive the ball down the field occasionally. And that's how you have to beat the Patriots. If you want to try to just play a field position game and punt the ball away and just play it safe, you're probably going to lose because the Patriots won't make mistakes to beat themselves. As a general rule, they're not going to turn the ball over, and they're not going to make it easy for you. So if the Ravens can play offense the way they did against the Dolphins, I give them a really good chance. And I'd be curious your thoughts. Is that what the Ravens offense is capable of, or was it one fluky game?
Well, I'll tell you what, the offensive line's together now. They moved Yonda over to the left side. He's been better there. He's hurt. He's got a bad shoulder. He can play left guard. He can't play right guard. They've had the same O-line for 3 weeks in a row. Ronnie Stanley has improved. And that kind of protection around Flacco and this aggressive attitude that he's taken with Marty Morningwig, everything you said about being aggressive, those are the things Joe talked about after they won the AFC Championship game up there, which was we were too conservative in the first half. In the second half of the game, we're going to go for the throat. And that is very characteristic of Joe Flacco 9 years into this. And I think Marty Morningwig's bought in a little bit more. I think they're going to come up there and go guns blaring. I think they're going to be well protected. And I think they're going to play a good front seven defense against the Patriots. And they're going to make the Patriots throw the football and then try to go bring them down and try to pick them off and try to take the ball away. So I think it's a good football game on Monday. It's a way better game than it looked to be a month ago, that's for sure. Because the Patriots
totally
could have been a 2-touchdown dog a month ago, sure.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Ravens' offense was struggling, I absolutely was thinking, well, I mean, there's only one way they can win. They're going to have to beat you, 17-13 or something like that. But now it seems like they're getting a little bit better protection, like you said, and I wasn't aware of all of those issues they had on the offensive line, so that makes some sense. And the Patriots haven't been able to get a lot of pressure on the passer. Now, they did and they have been a little bit better the last couple of weeks in doing that. They did that to Jared Goff against the Rams, but I think that was more a product of a kid making his third career start than anything else. So if they can protect Flacco, and I think you're going to get a shootout because I think the Patriots' offense will find a way at home to move the ball at least a little bit. Even if the Ravens play well defensively, it's hard to keep them down the whole game. So this is a game Monday night that I think should be really fascinating on a lot of levels, and it's a huge game for both teams. Obviously, the Ravens are really fighting for that division, but the Patriots still kind of have to take care of some business here if they want to get that number one overall seed and make sure they keep the Dolphins out of this division themselves. So I think it should be a fascinating matchup.
Maybe get Tommy a trip back to the Bay Area for the Raiders there before it's all over. It's going to be a good tournament. I think it's rounded out real nicely. Certainly the Chiefs look good right now. Who knows what's going to happen in that South Division. But good times here as we head on to the holidays. Just the way we want it. 4 weeks left, and everybody's having a shootout. It's good fun.
Yeah, the AFC West looks dynamite. Everybody was wondering when one of those teams would sort of fall by the wayside. It hasn't happened. When the third-place team is 8-4, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And you're right. I give... The Gronkowski injury, to me, has sort of leveled the playing field. I think I think the AFC is up for grabs. And I thought probably about a month ago that the Patriots, they like to say we accentuate the positive here at Patriots.com, and I thought the Patriots were head and shoulders above the rest of the AFC. I no longer think that. I think Gronkowski's injury levels the playing field, and I think it's going to be the team that gets hot, and who knows who that team is going to be. It could be Oakland, for all we know, and their win yesterday was pretty impressive on Sunday against the Bills when they, they're down 24-9, and all of a sudden, they're kneeling on the ball at the end of the game in total control.
I looked up; it was 38-24. I'm like, they were just losing 24-9. What the heck happened?
And I think Patriots fans had that one penciled in the L column once they saw the score, and I think they were looking at the number one overall seed, and now they're like, oh, geez, here we are headed toward the middle of December, and they've got nothing sewn up, and they don't like that.
All those West teams have to play each other yet, so that's going to be. So there are going to be some more losses there, just because. I mean, Thursday night they're going to Kansas City and Oakland are going to play for first place and sort of battle it out on short rest. It's a great season. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Keep the clam chowder warm for me, and try not to make it snow. I mean, we don't need any snow. We don't need any of that going on up there on Monday night, right?
Oh, there was a little snow earlier in the week, but I don't think it'll be a factor for Monday. I think you'll be fine, Nestor.
He is.
Don't worry about it. You won't melt, buddy. You'll be all right.
I'm going to bring my gloves and my earmuffs just in case. I'm used to doing the snowman walk from the parking lot out there at Gillette Stadium. There have been some long walks and some of the greatest walks of my life, Paul. Paul Perillo, he is PFW Paul, the editor of Patriots.com, as well as Patriots Football Weekly, and you can find him at PFW Paul on Twitter. You can find me out on the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Don't forget, Wednesday night, Marshall Yanda is going to join us at Greenmount Station in Hampstead. We'll be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry. First time we've had Marshall out in 10 years. Lots of Pro Bowls, lots of Iowa, lots of O-line, lots of offense, and good things to discuss with Marshall Yanda, who doesn't come out much, but when he does, he brings his A game as well as his beard, which if you've seen my Facebook pictures from 10 years ago, you know what he looked like before the beard. It's kind of fun. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I am a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.